Hi students, welcome to Structural Engineering Lectures and welcome to a new playlist on the design of steel structures conforming to IS 800 2007 limit state method, right? And today's class we shall see the design of slab column bases, the design of slab bases as well as the design of gusseted bases with bolted connections. If you solve problems, students, right? In the previous class we have seen the design of column splices subjected to shear, bending moment as well as axial forces. Three problems we have seen. I hope you're enjoying the discussions. Then you click like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now let us see the brief profile of the speaker. That is I, Dr. D. Rupesh Kumar, obtained my BTech in Civil Engineering from Nagarjuna University in 1994, MTech Structural Engineering from JNTU Hyderabad in 2000 and PhD Structural Engineering from JNTU Hyderabad 2009. Presently, I am working as Professor of Department of Civil Engineering, University College of Engineering, Osman University, Hyderabad, Telangana State. I have an experience of 27 years, of which 7 years is in industry and 20 years is in teaching and research at graduate and postgraduate levels. My research areas include reinforced cement concrete design, steel structural design, structural analysis, point element analysis, earthquake engineering, bridge engineering, structural optimization. I published 45 research papers in national and international journals, conferences, organized 3 international conferences and 11 national conferences and workshops, attended 43 workshops, visited 2 countries, delivered 13 guest lectures, edited 3 books, supervising 14 PhD scholars and supervised 30 ME theses. Right? I am actively involved in various consultancy works that are offered by the department and completed over 750 design proof checks and 150 plus designs of the RCC, steel, composite, low-rise, high-rise, multi-story buildings and road as well as rail bridges. Now, let us see what we'll be discussing in today's class. This is the students, right? We'll be discussing the designs of column bases, the designs of the column bases, right? Now, however, coming to the turf, the column bases, right? Whenever there is a column, right? Obviously, at the bottom of that, we will provide a base plate, so that this will be resting over the concrete pedestal. Therefore, the purpose of this base plate is to avoid punching shear failure of the concrete below 1, right? And the second reason is that the load coming from the column will be uniformly distributed over the concrete pedestal, right? And it will hold the column in position, right, by means of the anchor bolts provided, and also if it all is provided at the base, then that is what referred to as column base, or that is what called a base plate, student, right? Whereas sometimes even in the case of the industrial buildings, right, or roof trusses, we may also be providing the column cap over the entire truss will be sitting, along with the expansion joint, the truss with the expansion joint details will be sitting over that. Then that is what referred to as a column cap. Therefore, that is how the difference between the column cap and a column base. Therefore, this is what a column cap, which is at the top, over which the entire truss will be sitting over this, right? Even there will be an arrangement for either expansion or contraction on the column cap by means of the shoe angles, right, which are provided on a slotted hole, by means of the bolts, right? And this is a column base or base plate, which are anchored into the pedestals, right? And these are anchored by means of the anchor bolts, which are embedded into the concrete by means of a length called the development length, right, or the embedment length or development length, noted by LD, right? Now, once we see what is a column cap and column base, student, right? Now let us see what are the types of the column bases. Right? We do have the column bases may be, right, subjected to pure axial forces, or they may also be subjected to the bending moments, right? Therefore, in such a case, if a column is purely transmitting an axial load itself, then we may simply design a slab base alone, right? However, if in addition to the pure axial load, if bending moment is also there, then we may design a gazetted base. A gazetted base. A gazetted base is nothing but it is a slab base plus the gazetted plate as well as gazetted angles. That is what called a gazette system, right? This is how the column bases, and also we will also have the column bases as moment resisting bases, right? Where those bases are designed particularly to resist the movement itself, right? Small movement, medium movement, and large movement, right? I will not discuss those. We will only be discussing these two, slab bases and gazetted bases. That too with the riveted connections as well as one bolted connections, as well as the second one is welded connections. Right? Now, let us also see the different schematics, the different types of the column bases, like the students, right? These are the different schematics of the column bases. What I am showing, right? This is how the major axis x axis and minor axis y axis, right? Therefore, the column is resting over a base plate, and it is provided by means of anchor bolts, right? Anchor bolts, so that the base plate will be there in the position over the concrete pedestal. That is why the anchor bolts will be provided, right? That is the purpose of anchor bolts, right? So that the base plate will be in position, it will not move here and there once load is applied or load is transferred from column to the base plate, right? Now, and now we can see that these are a few welded connections, what now I am showing, right? Even I will show that of the bolted connections also, student, right? Therefore, this is how the welded connections, wherein the I section flange to the I section flange, what we are providing, right? What we are welding is a plate, a gusset plate, or simply a plate will be connected to the flange, which will be welded by means of the butt weld, right? And that will be connected to the gusset plate also, so that it can take the movements, right? Therefore, by attaching this to the flange, end of the flange, or from the toe of the flange, then it can take the movements, right? That is how these will be taking the movements. Right? That is how we can see, right? On ends of the flanges, we do have one, right? Two flanges here, two plates, as well as at the other end also. At the other end also, we can see two plates. Right? Now, we can also see like this, right? I'll come to these actual designs also, student, right? And we can also see the other types like this, right? Just bear for a moment, right? As that here now, in the previous case, the plates, the anchor plates, the base plates were provided. The base plates were provided, or the bracket plates were provided, are attached to the outer edges of the column, right? Whereas they can also be attached to the face of the column also. That now we'll examine in the other schematics, right? Now like this, right? Whereas now they are attached to the flange itself, right? Right? Therefore, now this has the connections. The gusset plates are connected to the flanges, flushing these, right, on either side. And even if at all, due to the attachment of this gusset plate, right, which are connected by means of the welds, right? If any tension force were to occur, obviously the base plate will be losing the contact with the pedestal. Therefore, in such a case, in order to provide perfect contact with the concrete pedestal, we will also be sometimes providing these dotted plates, right? Dotted plates, right? Therefore they will ensure the uniform distribution of the pressure, and the surfaces will not be losing contact with the base plate at the bottom, right? Base plate at the bottom, right? That is all. And let us also see the third type, student, right? This is how the third type is that here we do have the gusset plate attached at the end of the flange. In the previous case they were provided on the flange, right? And in the other direction, because it may lose contact with the pedestal, we may also be providing these gusset plates are just normal plates, right? Now let us also see the other type, wherein here at the end of the flanges we may also be providing a hollow circular section which is welded, therefore due to which the ends of the toes of the flanges are welded to this hollow circular section. Therefore now these can take movements about the major axis, x axis, right? And here these will also simultaneously be used for holding down the bolts, right? Therefore we can run the anchor bolts through these holes, and we can make connections so that the base plate will be intact in the same position after application of the load. Or if the movements are heavy, then we may also be using the channels which are welded, as well as these channels are kept in position, and they are kept in position by hold on bolts, right? Anchor bolts, right? And we can see 1, 2, 3 bolts also, right? There and on the other side also three more bolts, so that the movements can be transferred by these flanges to these channels, right? Therefore during which obviously there will be a bending action. Therefore during such bending action we may lose contact with the bottom surfaces. Therefore these hold down bolts will make sure that there will be no loss of the surface of the column which is already welded to the base plate with that of the concrete pedestal, right? That is the purpose, right? Now because of this, obviously there will be a movement which is resisted by these channels, right? And because of that, even there will be a vertical shear at this intersection, because of which obviously we know that the shear will always be having equal and opposite couples, right? Which is called a complementary shear. Therefore in order to avoid that there will be a complementary shear, right? Therefore in order to avoid that complementary or horizontal shear, we will also be providing the horizontal stiffness like this in between the flanges, touching the web, so that this will take the horizontal shear which is arising due to the bending moments in this channel section, right? Now, and sometimes what happens is right, we may be having small gap, right? Therefore these channels set back slightly from end of this column, so that in such a case here these channels will not be designed for bearing, whereas in the previous case these channels are designed for bearing as well as the bending as well as the shear force, right? 3. Whereas here these channels in this figure, they are not designed for bearing, they need to only be designed for the bending moment because of this bolts which are connected, therefore, and as well as the shear forces, right? That's it, right? Now there is this one, and we can also see another schematic wherein the gusset plates are connected by means of hold down bolt, two gusset plates are welded to the flange, and at the top there is a plate which is provided by means of the hold on anchor bolt, even on the other side of the flange also. And also we can see that on the web also there is a plate which is welded on either side, right? Therefore this gives moment of resistance in both the directions, right? X as well as that of the y direction, right? If at all we require a large base plate, then obviously, right, this gusset plate length will be too long. Therefore, in order to avoid the buckling due to long slant edge or inclined edge, we may also be providing the stiffness like this. We may also be providing the stiffness with the hold down bolts, right? That is how the different arrangements of the welded gusseted connections. Now let us see the other schematic student. This is a column with the slab base, right? Therefore we do have the pedestal over which the base plate is resting, over which the column is just simply resting, right? Therefore if the axial load which need to be transferred is very small, then obviously we will just provide a slab base only. For small axial loads only we will be providing a slab base. Therefore in such a case even these web cleat angles may not be required, technically speaking, right? And we may not be requiring this flange cleat angle also. But however, for keeping these flanges as well as the webs in position, we may be providing a nominal web cleat angle as well as a nominal size of the flange cleat angle, but they will not be designed, they will be just a nominal size, right? This is and they will also be provided by means of these holding down bolts, or they are what called rack bolts, right? Generally we will be providing on 4 ends, 4 bolts will be provided by default, right? And this is a slab based student, right? That was a schematic. Now this is a real photograph of a slab base, right? Now we can see that the column, I section column is welded to a base plate, right, all along this periphery, and they are provided by means of 6 number of anchor bolts, 3 here and 3 on the other side, right? Even we can see for provision of these gusseted bases also, the holes are already made in 2 rows, right? Now let us see the other schematic, the next one. Once we see the slab basis student, then next type is the gusseted base. This is a pictorial illustration, 3D schematic of the gusseted base, right? Therefore this I section, why, first of all, why gusseted bases are required is that if load transferred by the column is heavy, one, right? And also at the simultaneously, if load transferred is heavy as well as it is subjected to uniaxial or biaxial bending moment, then in such a case we'll go for a gusseted base plate, right? That is how I section to that flange, what will be connecting is a gusset system which consists of one set of the gusset plate on each of the flange, which is further stiffened by means of a gusset angle, right? Both will be stiffening this flange, right? This gusset plate as well as gusset angle, both will be stiffening this flange so that they can resist more and more movements in the required major bending direction. Now we do have this x axis, therefore about which we are showing this, therefore about that major axis. Even if need be, they can also be provided along the minor axis also. We'll see those designs, right? And this is what a gusset angle, a gusset plate which are provided means of the bolted connections, right? Bolted connections like this, right? And they will also be provided by means of the hold down anchor bolts, right? And also a web cleat can also be provided, right? However, that can be provided if at all no large horizontal transfer shear is there, right? However, we need to design that web cleat if at all there is a heavy shear also, horizontal shear, right? Otherwise, we will be generally providing a nominal web cleat angle, which is provided by means of say two number of bolts connecting the web to the top of this web cleat, and also connecting this web cleat angle to the top of the base plate also, right? That is how the arrangement, student, right? Now once we see this 3D schematic, let us see the side view, right? This is this is that front view, I section that I already shown. This is a gusset plate, this is a gusset angle which is provided over a base plate, which are provided by means of the bolts, right? This is front elevation, right? And this is how the side view. Therefore, if I see from the side, obviously the gusset plate width will be varying, which is equal to the width of the flange to that of the width of this base plate itself, right, over a particular distance, right? And which is also provided by means of the bolts, right, in two rows, right, as shown in this figure. And this indicates the plan, right? That is how I section is provided by means of this first one is the gusset plate, and the second one is the gusset angle. Therefore, the gusset angle will be ending elsewhere, right, like this, which are provided by means of these bolts, right? All the front, side view as well as plan view have seen, 3D view also we have seen. Let us see the same schematic using another illustration, right? That is how the front view, right, I section, which is provided by means of this brown color gusset plate, as well as it is provided by means of the gusset angle, like this, right? I'm just showing this, right? This is the flange, this is the gusset plate, and this is the gusset angle, right? If I see from the front, it looks like this, right? It looks like this, right? Therefore, in front elevation this looks like this, or in the side elevation it looks like this, right? Therefore, they are now what shown in the side view also, right? Therefore, this gusset plate is now varying width from width of the flange to the top equal to width of the base plate, right? And we'll be designing these bolts. This is what a bolted gusset plate, student, right? Whereas in the previous schematics I have already shown the welded gusseted bases. There I don't have any angle, just only a gusset plate will only be there, right? That is how the difference, right? There will be no gusset angle in such a case. There will be no gusset angle. That is the difference. Please make a note, right? And this is the base plate, right? And generally there will be maximum bending moment at this net cantilever projection, at which we will be finding out the bending moment, right? That we'll see during the designs, right? This is what the 3D schematic, right? There's a built up I section, which is provided by means of a cover plate also, right? Or this is provided by means of you can see that this yellow plate is what a gusset plate, right? Even it is going up to the bottom of the onto the top of this base plate, which is shown in pink color, and to which what is also attached, this green color, is a gusset angle, which is provided by means of the anchor bolts, right? And on the other side also the same is arrangement, right? And they are also provided by means of a number of bolts in 2 rows, right? Even a number of bolts in 2 rows, right? And also we can see a web cleat also provided on the web, right? The purpose of that web cleat is to keep the web in position after application of the load, right? And also we can see these 4 anchor bolts are shown in red color. Their purpose is to keep only the column along with the base plate, in position once the load is applied, right? Now this is how the 3D schematic should. Now I am showing the original photographs, right? This is a welded gusseted gazetted base photograph, right, wherein we can see that to the flange what are now provided are the gazette plates are welded in three rows to the flange like this, right, and even they are welded to the base plate also. They are welded to the base plate also like this, right, and they're also provided by means of the anchor bolts. Now we can see, right, 1 2 3 4 anchor bolts here, on the other side also 4 anchor bolts, right. This is the major axis, student, right. Therefore about the major axis there are 3 gazette plates are there. Even this vertical axis, the minor axis, therefore about that vertical axis also there is one gazette plate which is welded to the toe of the flange, toe of the column flange, and which is also connected to the base plate, right. Even that is how you can see to the toe of the flange, and which is connected to the base plate. This is the base plate, that is the thickness of the base plate which is resting on the concrete pedestal. This is what a welded gazetted base, right. And this is also another schematic wherein this I section is also provided by means of, right, the gazetted plates about both the axes, right. Therefore 2 plus 2 4 about major axis, as well as about 2 plus 2 4 about minor axis, so that they are also anchored by means of 3 plus 3 6 number of anchor bolts which are anchored to the concrete pedestal below, right. That is how the different schematic, student, right. Once we understood this, let us move quickly to the top, the design of a slab base. Today we will see a design of a slab base, right. Hence let us see this design at a quicker pace, student, right. Let me go back, right. Yes, right. Yeah, before I see the design of a base plate, student, now let us see the analysis of these rectangular slab bases, and I'll derive the thickness of a rectangular slab base after analyzing, right. Therefore this is how a rectangular slab base is now considered, right. A rectangular slab base is considered over which the, right, like this, and a column is put in plan, right. Now let us say this is as per this class 7.4.3 of IAS 800 2007, page number 47, student. I'll go to that once I derive this, right, wherein now let W be the uniform pressure on the soil on the slab base due to the application of the factor load, and let A be the larger projection of the cantilever projection, right, larger projection, right, and let B be the smaller projection of the cantilever projection, right, and let TF be the thickness of the flange, and let TS be the thickness of the slab base, that of this slab base, right, this slab base what I am showing here, right. Hence now I want to design what should be the thickness of this slab base, rectangular slab base, right, just a slab base. Later on we will see that of the gazetted base also, right. Hence considering generally for the designs of the slabs or slab bases, will be considering 1 unit width, right. Therefore now I am considering this unit width, this is 1 mm or 1 inch or 1 unit or 1 meter, like that, right. Therefore considering 1 unit width, 1 mm are as appropriate, and now I have to have the larger cantilever projection. Is A. Therefore the bending moment at the face of this column flange is equal to W multiplied by A, which is concentrated at a distance of A by 2, where W is so many kilonewton per meter square, that multiplied by this meter square distance, right. Therefore this kilonewton per meter square, that multiplied by A, right, per meter. Therefore so many kilonewton meter per meter width, or per 1 mm width as appropriate. Therefore there is WA square by 2. Similarly in the transverse direction, or along the direction of this smaller projection, the bending moment is equal to WB square by 2, right. However for the steel as per the IAS 800, the Poisson's ratio mu is equal to 0.3. However, this is under the biaxial bending. right? Simultaneous is bending about not only about the major axis as well as it is bending about the minor axis. Therefore, it is under biaxial bending. Hence, the net bending moment about the major axis or mx direction, right, or x axis, about xx axis. Therefore, that is notated by mx is equal to that major bending moment wa square by 2 minus Poisson's ratio times the minor bending moment wb square by 2. That now works out, say, w by 2 a square minus 0.3 b square. Similarly, the net bending moment about the minor axis my can be given by interchanging a to b as my is equal to w by 2 b square minus 0.3 a square, right? Once I get this, now what I'll do is, for equilibrium mx is equal to mb. Therefore, now I'll get this plastic movement, whereas movement of resistance is equal to the plastic movement, right? Plastic movement of this section of the rectangular base plate section, right? Therefore, that as per this codal specification, if I go to IAC attended 2007 page number 53, let me go to that page number 53, student, right, of IAC attended 53. Yeah, I am there in this page number 53. Yes, right. Therefore, now what I have is that, right, when this factored design shear force does not exceed 0.6 VD, right, then MD is equal to beta B ZP Fy divided by gamma m naught. To avoid irreversible deformation under the serviceability loads, right, MD shall be less than 1.2 Fy ZE divided by gamma m naught, right? In case of the simply supported beams are 1.5 Fy ZE divided by gamma m naught in the case of the cantilever beams, right? This is how for the designs of the beams are which are subjected to flexure, right? Either the plates or beams which are subjected to flexure. Therefore, recalling this, now I'll say that I've just noted down that, hence I am saying that this plastic moment of resistance is equal to 1.2 Fy divided by gamma m naught multiplied by ZE. Therefore, now I do have say what is the where ZE is the elastic section modulus, right? However, we already know that the width, what we have considered, B is equal to 1 unit. Therefore, B is equal to 1 unit and its thickness is equal to T, right? Substituting which BT square by 6, where ZE is equal to BT square by 6. Now I get 1.2 Fy divided by gamma m naught. B is equal to 1 unit multiplied by TS square by 6, where TS is the thickness of the base slab. However, out of these two net bending moments, the net bending moment out of the major axis W by 2 A square minus 0.3 B square is much greater than about that of the minor axis, which is W by 2 B square minus 0.3 A square, because this numeric value of A is much greater than that of the B. Hence, this is the maximum net bending moment. Therefore, equating that moment mx to that of the moment of resistance. Now I get this, right? W by 2 A square minus 0.3 B square is equal to 1.2 Fy TS square divided by 6. Therefore, solving with, now I'll get TS is equal to W divided by 0.4 Fy multiplied by A square minus 0.3 B square multiplied by gamma m naught, or taking a square root. 1 divided by 0.4 means 2.5. Therefore, now I'll get TS is equal to 2.5 under root 2.5 W A square minus 0.3 B square multiplied by gamma m naught divided by Fy. However, this thickness should be greater than or equal to thickness of the flange. Let me go to this page number. This is already given in this page number, student, right? Let me go to this page number 47. Let me go to this page number 47 of IAC 800. Page number 47. Yes, 47. Right. This is what the minimum thickness of the rectangular slab bases supporting the columns under the axial compression, given by TS is equal to square root of 2.5 W A square minus 0.3 B square multiplied by gamma m naught divided by Fi, which is greater than Tf. This is what we have derived, where W is the uniform pressure below the slab base under the factored axial load. Please make a note. Under compression, A and B are the larger and smaller projection respectively of the slab base beyond the rectangle circumscribing the column, and Tf is the thickness of the flange of the compression member. Right? That is how the design of this base plate means we obtained the thickness after derivation. Right? Now, once we examine this, let us also see the codal specification now before we go for the design of a slab base. Student. Now let us see. Right? Let us see this. Right? Now that is how I am discussing next subheading as the codal specifications pertaining to that of the slab bases, right, and that of the gusset column bases, right. Therefore, I am there in class number 7.4 of IAS 800 2007, right. General. This is the next subheading, student. We are now discussing the codal specifications. Yeah, please make a note before we go for the designs. Now I'll discuss the codal specifications, right. These are the codal specifications. In general, the column bases should have sufficient stiffness and strength to transmit axial force, bending moment, and shear forces at the base of the columns to their foundations without exceeding the load carrying capacity of the supports. Anchor bolts and shear keys should be provided wherever they are necessary. Shear resistance at the proper contact surface between the steel base and concrete grout may be calculated using a friction coefficient of 0.45, right. And furthermore, the maximum bearing pressure should not exceed the bearing strength equal to 0.6 FCK, where FCK is the smaller characteristic compressive strength of the cube of the concrete or bedding material. However, as per IS 456, what is that? Let us also see, right. Therefore, I am there in IS 456 class 34.4, transfer of load at the base of the column. Now the code says that in such a case, right, here let me see this codal specification wherein for limit state method of design, permissible bearing stress shall be taken as 0.4 FCK, whereas for the working stress method it should be taken as 0.25 FCK from IS 456 page number 65, right. Both I have given, but generally we will take IS 456 codal specifications itself, right, as far as the concrete is concerned, right. Now next, other codal specifications are like this, that if the size of the base plate is larger than the required to limit the bearing pressure on the base support, an equal projection C of the base plate beyond the face of the column and gusset may be taken as effective in transferring the column load as given in figure 9, such that the bearing pressure on the effective area does not exceed the bearing capacity of the concrete base. Now let us see this figure 9, right. That is how, if they are exceeding, because now they are exceeding actually, obviously, right, even they are welded, right, therefore in such a case, what is that effective? This gives the effective area of the base plate, right. Therefore now after welding, now you will get, right, 2C plus T, where T is the thickness of this flange, and 2C, right, C plus T, right. That is how the only this much shaded area is only effective in bearing this load, right. Similarly, for this schematic, now you can see, right, this is how up to the end, right, it should be less than or equal to C, then only up to the end, otherwise not. Otherwise this is like this, right. There is unshaded area also, right. Here this is less than or equal to C, therefore it is possible, right. Even this width is equal to 2C plus T, even here also 2C plus T, right, where T is the thickness of this web, right. Even if it is less than or equal to C, then it will touch even the other side of this base plate, right, like this, right. Here also 2C plus T, even if this is less than or equal to C, then it will go up to the end of the base plate, right. Even for circular hollow tubular sections, that is how C plus 2C plus T, right. Even for the built up sections also, this is how, but all is less than or equal to C, then up to the end, otherwise only up to a distance C only, right. That is how all these indicates the effective area of the base plate, right? Once we examine this, where this C, where that C is the equal projection C of the base plate beyond the face of the column, right? Now, next codal specification is pertaining to that of the gusseted bases, right? For stanchions with gusseted bases, the gusseted plates, angle cleats, stiffeners, fastenings, etc., in combination with the bearing area of the shaft or that of the base plate, shall be sufficient to take the loads, bending moments, and reactions to the base plate without exceeding the specified strength. All the bearing surfaces shall be machined to ensure the perfect contact, right? They are what called flush. The column ends are flush, so that there will be 100% bearing between the two contact surfaces, right? And where the ends of the column shaft and the gusset plates are not faced for complete bearing, right? Then the welding fastenings are connecting them to the base plate shall be sufficient to transmit all those forces to which the base plate is subjected, right? Therefore, as per this codal specification, what we can say is that if they are not, the column ends are not made flush and they are not machine cut, right? Ends are not made machine cut, then obviously there will be uneven surfaces, because of which obviously not only the load is transmitted by now the load will not be presumed to be transferred by these uneven surfaces, but that the entire load is presumed to be transmitted by the gusseted plates or gusseted angles as well as their connections. Gusseted plates, gusseted angles and their connections. However, if the ends are already flush and made machine cut, then in which case there is no load to be taken by these gusset plates and their connections. But however, in such case also we will assume that only 50% of the load is transmitted by the bearing and remaining 50% by the connections. Connections means either gusset plate, gusset angle as well as that of the bolted connections or welded connections as appropriate, right? That we'll see during the design. That is the meaning, right? Now, next one is column and base plate connections, where the end of the column is connected directly to the base plate by means of full penetration butt welds. The connection shall be deemed to transmit to the base all forces and movements to which the column is subjected, right? Now, that is that of the codal specifications of the gusset bases student, right? Now let us see the codal specifications of the slab bases. Just now we have seen this derivation that minimum thickness T of the rectangular slab bases T is equal to square root of 2.5 W square minus 0.3 B square gamma m naught divided by Fi square under root. This should be greater than that of the thickness of the flange. This we already derived, right? And when only the effective area of the base plate is used, as in class 7.4.1.1, C square may be used in the above equation instead of A square minus 0.3 B square. That we'll see during the designs, right? Instead of this A square minus 0.3 B square, we'll see C as we have seen in the above these figures also, right? As notated. That also we'll see in the designs, right? When the slab does not distribute the column load uniformly due to eccentricity of the load, etc., the special calculation shall be made to show that the base is adequate to resist the movement due to non-uniform pressure from below, right? And bases for bearing upon concrete or masonry need not be machined on the underside. Means the bases need not be machined underside. They need to be only machined between the contact surfaces of the column end and the top of the base plate, right? Therefore, at the bottom of this base plate, it need not be machined, so that if it is machined, then obviously there will not be a perfect bond between the concrete material and this steel base plate. Therefore, it should be rough surface. We should not machine the bottom surface of this base plate to have perfect bond between two surfaces, right? Now this is how the codal specifications should, right? Once we examine the codal specifications, now let us move to a design problem wherein we'll now see that just now we have seen that the thickness of the base slab was given by this. Now let us see a numeric problem with that student, right? Like this, right? This is how a design of a slab base, right? Now a numeric problem, right? Design a slab base for a column ISHB 350 at 710.2 Newton per meter subjected to a factored axial compression load of 1500 kilonewton, right? If the load is transferred to the base plate, 1 by direct bearing of the column flanges, 2 welded connections, right? Second bit, right? And the column end and the base plates are not machined for bearing, right? And whether anchor bolts are required or not, that also you answer. And the base rests on the concrete pedestal of M20 grade concrete and also use Fe 410 grade steel, right? That is how the data given, right? Now let us see the problem given. The data is like this, right? This is how the for this Fe 410 grade steel yield stress Fi is equal to of the steel is equal to 250 Newton per mm square megapascals. And even if I go to this table 5 page number 30, let me go to that, right? Table 5 page number 30, 30, yes, 30, yes, I am there in that page number 30, wherein table 5 partial safety factors, right? Resistance governed by the yielding, gamma m naught is equal to 1.1, governed by the buckling, gamma m naught is equal to 1.1, governed by the ultimate stress, gamma m1 is equal to 1.25. Even for the bolted connections, sharp bolted connections, gamma mf is equal to 1.25 for friction type bolting, and as well as for ordinary black bolts, gamma mb is equal to 1.25. Even for welds also, for sharp welds it is 1.25, right? Once we note down this data, let me see, right? That is how even for the weld, I am assuming sharp weld, therefore gamma mw is equal to 1.25. That data I have noted down, right? Even from this IS 800 2007 class 7.4.1 page number 46, right? Just now I told that for M20 grade concrete, the bearing strength W is equal to 0.6 FCK, page number 46. That I already just showed, page number 46, right? Let me go to that page number 46, right? However, right, this is how, right, 0.6 FCK, right? Bearing strength is equal to 0.6 FCK, whereas here the FCK, characteristic compressive strength of the concrete, is equal to 20. This now works out, bearing strength, permissible bearing strength as per this IS 800 works out 12 Newton per mm square. However, as per the class IS class 34.4 page number 65 of IS 456 2000, let me go to that 2000, the permissible bearing strength is in the limit state method, it is 0.45 FCK. Therefore, upon substitution, it now works out, say this W is equal to 0.45 multiplied by 20 means 9 MPa. Therefore, out of these, right, generally for the concrete, IS 456 will govern the designs. Therefore, even I will simply take 9 MPa because this is much less than that of the 12 MPa. Therefore, if I use less value, I'll get more bearing area. Hence, the designs will always be safe. Instead of proceeding with a larger value, there, in which case you will get the lesser bearing area, then it will not be safe, right? And it is subjected to a factored axial compression, pure axial compression load of Pu is equal to 1500. And also from IS 800 2007 table 46 page number 138, let me go to this page number 138, student. IS 138, just bear for a moment, right? 138. Yes, I am there in that page number 138. Sorry, I am there in page number 138. Yes, right? Yes, this is how that annex H table 46, right? Where ISHB, what is that section is the IS ISHB 350 at 710. ISHB 350 at 710. Yes, ISHB 350 at 710. Yes, this one, right? ISHB 350 at 710, right? Therefore, this is how at the rate of 72.4 kg per meter, right? I am just noting down that relevant properties. Its area is equal to 92.21 centimeter square, and the depth of the section is equal to 250, and width of the flange is equal to 250, and the thickness of the flange is equal to 11.6, and thickness of the web is equal to 10.1. Therefore, this data are just noted from this codal specification. Therefore, H is equal to D is equal to 350, and thickness of the TF is equal to 11.6, TW is equal to 10.1, breadth of the flange is equal to 250. Therefore, this is how the given data, student, right? Now what I am trying to design is that this is how that bearing base plate I want to design. This is a column of depth 350 mm and whose flange width is equal to 250 mm. This flange width is equal to 250 mm, right? And the thickness of this flange is equal to 11.6, and this thickness of this web is equal to 10.1, right? 10.1. Therefore, first let me design the base plate. There is the first component. Hence, the area of the slab base required, A is equal to the fractal load divided by permissible bearing stress. That is equal to 1500 kilonewton 10 to the power 3 divided by bearing stress is equal to 9. I am not designing for 12 because divided by 9 means I'll get more area, right? That is 1,66,667 mm square, right? Or 16.67 10 to the power 4 mm square, right? And assuming the square base plate, right? The side of the base plate required, L required is equal to square root of this area 16.66 10 to the power 4. It now works out approximately 408 mm. Therefore, provide a base plate of side L is equal to 420, and width is also 420. L by B is equal to 420 by 420 provided. Therefore, the area of the base plate provided, A pro is equal to 420 whole square. It works out say 17.64 10 to the power 4 mm square, which is much greater than 16.66 10 to the power 4 mm square. Therefore, it is okay. This base plate of 420 by 420 is okay, right? Okay, right? Now, however, once I get this size, then I want to find out the thickness. Therefore, for which what now I'll do is what is the larger projection of the slab base, A. Therefore, that from the figure, if I go to this figure now, I can see that right here I do have right over 420 only 250 width. If I deduct, I do have the larger projection as this value, right? Compared to that of this over 420, if I deduct 350, I do have the smaller projection of 35 mm, right? That is why I'm just calculating both, right? Therefore, the larger projection of the slab base A is equal to 420. This 420 minus this 250, that divided by 2, that works out say 85 mm on either side. Similarly, the smaller projection of the slab base B is equal to, right, small b is equal to 420 minus this 350 divided by 2, that works out say 35 and 35 on either side, 35 and 35, right? Therefore, as per this class 7.4.3.1 page number 47, just now we have seen that minimum thickness of the slab base is equal to TS is equal to square root of 2.5 WA square minus 0.3 B square gamma m naught divided by F5. Substituting the numeric values, now I have square root of 2.5 multiplied by W is equal to what is that actual bearing pressure? Let me calculate. Therefore, that actual bearing pressure in the concrete, W actual is equal to W, the actual load PU divided by actual area provided. Actual load is equal to 1500 10 to the power 3 divided by actual area is equal to 17.64 10 to the power 4. That works out say 8.5 Newton per mm square, which is much less than the permissible bearing strength, bearing pressure of 9 Newton per mm square. Therefore, okay. Therefore, I am substituting that actual bearing pressure. Please make a note, not the permissible, student, right? Actual bearing pressure because of this provision of 420 by 420 base plate. This base plate of this 420 by 420, right? Therefore, that multiplied by A square, larger projection square, minus 0.3 minus smaller projection square. That multiplied by 1.1 is the partial safety factor for 250. for yield stress. Under root, it works out at 25.32 or say 28 mm. However, code says that it should be greater than thickness of the flange 11.6. Obviously, 25.32 is greater than this, therefore it is okay. Otherwise, let us say if you got this result as say some just 5.32, however, which is less than 11.6, therefore 11.6 will govern the design, not 5.32. Right? Please make note of this, student. Hence, provide a base plate of 420 by 420 by 28 mm. 28 mm. Therefore, that is how its thickness is equal to 28 mm, as shown in this figure. As shown in this figure, and also there is no bending moment given in the problem. This is not subjected to any bending moment. Therefore, the connection of the column with the base plate need not be designed. However, provided two cleat angles of ISA nominal size, right? ISA 60 by 60 by 8 nominal size, connecting column flange with the base plate to keep the column in position, right? To keep the column in position like this, right? This is a ISA 60 by 60 by 8 flange cleat angle, which is and also connect the flange cleat angle connected to the flange also by means of two bolts, two 16 mm bolts in two rows, right? Now this is how these two bolts, right, on the flange, and also connect this flange cleat angle by means of two 120 mm anchor bolt here and 120 mm anchor bolt there. Therefore, two 20 mm anchor bolts for keeping the base plate in position after application of the load, right? That is how the design of the base plate, right, as shown in this figure, right? Now once we conclude that, now let us see, because there is no tension, I am not designing these anchor bolts, student. If at all there is a tension or if it is subjected to a bending moment, then I need to design that, whether it can take that much of tension or not, whether it can take that much of bending moment or not, right? That I need to check, right? Now it is not there, therefore it is no problem, right? Now next one is the design, and the second bit is that also design of welded connection. If at all we want to connect this by means of a welded connection, therefore in such a case what happens is only the I section will be put over the base plate and will be welding all along the periphery of the column, right, like this, as shown in this figure, right? Just I am showing this figure, right? Therefore along the periphery I will be just welding by means of a fillet weld, right? Now we'll find out what is the size of this fillet weld. That is a design, student, right? Hence design of welded connection, right? However, column end and base plates are not machined for bearing, therefore because they are not machined for bearing, obviously I told that the load from the column need to be transferred to the base plate through welded connections only, right? Therefore PU, the load in the welded connections, is equal to 100% of the load, 100% of the factored load, which is equal to 1500 kilonewton, right? Now therefore the length available for the welding around the column profile, that I already shown like this, right? Around the column profile, right? All along the periphery, right? Right? Therefore that now works out, say a value LA is equal to this 250, right? I'm just showing, right? This is how 250 here, on the other side 250 minus this thickness of this web, which is 10.1, right? Therefore this 250 plus 250 minus 10.1, and coming to that of this web depth from 350 mm here 11.6, that are the thickness of the flange, and 11.6, that of this thickness of the flange. Two thicknesses of the flanges will be deducted. However, I do have like that another flange on the other end, even on the other side of the web. Therefore outside it is 2, therefore 2 multiplied by 250 plus 250 minus 10.1 plus 350 minus 2 multiplied by 11.6. It now works out approximately 1663 mm. Once the length available for the welding is obtained, then total number of end returns, right? You please see that, right? 6 on each flange. How? Now I'm just showing that, right? Here one end written, right? The second end written here, right? At the toe of this, at the toe of, right? All, let me show, right? One is at the intersection of this web with this flange, right? One at the end of the toe, at the end of the toe, right? Second, right? The third one is on the other side of the flange, on the other side of this flange, right? Third one, right? Similarly, the fourth one is here, right? Fifth one, sixth one. Therefore, on a flange, there are six end returns, right? Now, once again, I'm showing this just to see this, student, right? 1, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Similarly, on the other side also 6 plus 6 is equal to 12. Therefore, that 12, 6 on each flange. Hence, the effective length of the weld LW is equal to this length available minus this end returns. However, if I go to page number 78, let me go to this page number 78 of this IAC 800, student, right? Page number 78. Yeah, 78. Yes, I'm there in page number 78. Now it gives end returns, right? End returns. Now it says that end returns should be returned continuously around the corners for a distance not less than twice the size of the weld. Therefore, E is equal to 2s. Therefore, I just noted down that E is equal to 2s from page number 78, right? Hence, that effective length of the weld is equal to actual length available 1663 minus 12 end returns. 12 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 8. It works out, say, 1441 mm is only effective out of that 1633 mm. Now, I'm assuming the size of the weld because I want to design this as, say, S is equal to that of this fillet weld as 8 mm, student. Therefore, if I go to this class 10.5.3.1, page number 78 of IAS 800, let me go to that page number 78 of IAS 800 right? Page number 78, right? Therefore, I am there in page number 78. Now, what the code says is that the effective throat thickness of the fillet weld shall be in between 0.7, right? Generally not exceeding 0.7, sorry. Shall not be less than 3 mm, shall not be exceeding 0.7 T or 1 T, right? Under special circumstances, therefore 0.7 T. Therefore, S divided by root 2. Hence, I'm recalling that hence the effective throat thickness TT is equal to 0.7 multiplied by 8, 5.6 mm. And also from IAS 800 2007 class 10.5.7.1.1, page number 79. Right, let me go to that page number 79. Page number 79. What now I have is this is the page number 79. Yes, 79. It gives yes, from this page number 79, student. Now what I have is the not this one, student. Let me just go back. The design strength of the fillet weld. Right? Therefore, let me see this design strength of the fillet weld, right? No, not this one. Not this one. I think I need to go to this page number 79, right? Yes, I am there in page number 78 students, sorry, right? I was referring back to IAS 456, I'm sorry, right? Therefore, here, right, as per this for fillet welds, FWD, right, design strength of the fillet weld, FWD is equal to FWN divided by gamma MW, where FWN is equal to the nominal strength of the fillet weld given by FU divided by root 3, where FU is the smaller of the ultimate stress of the weld or that of the parent material, and gamma MW is the partial safety factor of the material as per the table 5. Just now we have seen. And also if I go to the next codal specification, let me also revisit that, right? Next codal specification, it says that, right, this class 10.5.9 stresses due to individual forces, either compression or tension or that of the shear alone, right? The stress in the weld is given by, right, FARQ is equal to that load, factor load divided by the effective weld area given by length of that weld LW multiplied by effective throat thickness, right, where FA is the actual normal stress, right, actual normal stress. Therefore, I'm recalling both of these formula, student, right? Both of these formulae I have just noted this formulae, right? And now I am substituting the numeric values here. Therefore, Fu divided by root 3 multiplied by 1.25 for equilibrium is equal to load is equal to 15, factor load is equal to 1500 multiplied by 10 to the power 3 divided by LW multiplied by 5.6. Therefore, the length of the weld required, LW req is equal to 1415 mm. 1415 mm. Therefore, the length of the weld required is 1415. But however, already the length of the weld, what we already provided, just by providing this weld all around, we have provided 1441 mm already provided. Therefore, the length of the weld provided 1441 mm is much more than that required. Therefore, it can take this load, or it can transfer the load safely to that of the base plate. Hence, provide 8 mm fillet weld and provide 220 mm anchor bolts as shown in this figure, so that they will keep the base plate in position, right? Let us say here this check is not satisfied, student. Let us say I got here 17, the length of the weld provided for 1441. Let us say here I got 1715. 1441 is less than 1715. Therefore, there is no other option, but what we need to do is that either you increase the size of the increase the size of the weld, decrease the size of the weld, so that you'll get the length of the weld required is more, right? Or alternatively, what you can do is even you can connect one or two plates to which even you can do welding, right? So that it will go by longer distances, right? Therefore, you weld a plate here, and you take all along that. Therefore, the length, in such a case, length of the weld available will be more than that of that required. Therefore, that is how the design, right? That is how the design of this slab based student, right? Let me show this schematically. Just now we have designed this, right? And we have this slab base only, not this, right? Even we have provided two anchor bolts, right? Or let me show this other schematic, student, right? This design we have designed, right? This we have designed, right? And even you may provide a flange cleat angle as well as a web cleat angle. However, in our problem we have not provided. Just now, sorry, we already provided. Even we have provided in our design also, right? This is ISA 60 by some 8 mm with let me see this, right? That was ISA 60. Just bear for a moment, right? ISA 60 by 60. Yes, 60 by 60 by 8, right? Like this, right? ISA 60 by 60 by 8. 60 by 60 by 8, like this, right? ISA 60 is the connected leg to the flange, and 60 is also connected leg to the base plate, connected by means of some maybe 216 number of bolts, and even connected by means of, say, either 2 anchor bolts or 4 anchor bolts as shown in this figure, right? Or there is how by means of we have just provided 2 anchor bolts, right? Even if I do welding, right, that is how the welding will be all along the periphery, right? That is how the end returns, right? One end return here, second end return, right? 1, 2, 3 end returns, right? Like that, 3 multiplied by 2, 6 plus 6, right? That is how the welded slab based design. This is the welded slab based design schematic, student, whereas this is the bolted slab based design. Both the designs we have seen. think I hope you enjoyed the discussions what we had in today's class. If you have really enjoyed the discussions, right, don't forget to click, share, subscribe, and comment to our YouTube channel. We will meet in the next class with the designs of the column bases. One with the riveted, the bolted connections. Two with the welded connections, welded gazetted base. Right? Till then, bye bye, students.